But I think the PolyU siege was really intense.
Emotionally, they were very challenged on the PolyU, but on the CUHK, it's very, very tense.
One of the prosecutors put it to me, that was certainly something that you never forget in your life.
I think the PolyU siege was really intense for me. That was probably the climax of the protests for me last year. I saw some of the most violent scenes. I think it was probably one of the times when it really did feel like a battle. PolyU, there was a siege that lasted for weeks, and then there was also this coordinated effort to try to rescue them, and actually also saw escape attempts about a week inside. And so it was a really intense period where I think everything kind of came to a head, and it was also some of the most cruel behavior we saw from the police. It was one thing to use violence and to arrest people and to use rubber bullets and tear gas, but then to try to basically starve out these kids inside a campus was quite unusual. So that was probably the most memorable and challenging experience for me last year, going through that. And also that was the most time I really spent with the protesters. When you're on the front line, of course you're surrounded by them, but at the university, there were some days when nothing was happening and we were all sleeping on campus, and people were walking around in shorts and flip-flops and t-shirts and no masks. And that was the most kind of human interaction I had with the protesters.
When I first went to PolyU, it was actually absolutely quiet. I remember that week I'd had several visits to the different universities and to look at, how students had managed to fortify a lot of them, including City U, including Baptist U, and then Hong Kong U. Until, towards the end of the week, most of the universities have emptied out. And, the only university left was PolyU, and I went in, I take a couple of images of prosecutors or students clad in black cleaning, the swimming pool or broken glasses. I think it was, that's to me was the most memorable part, was that everyone was thinking that's the end of it. All the universities are now evacuated. Everyone is cleaning up everything. They were getting rid of the sort of Molotov cocktail, putting them, into different places, cleaning up the broken glasses, removing a lot of the, barricades within the campus. And then, police coming in. So I think for me, that was the most memorable moment, just, that part when people were about to move out.
I think emotionally, they were very challenged on the PolyU. That was very early morning. That was when I actually trying to go to bed, and then suddenly the fire up. After like an hour, 2 hours later, then the protesters said, police say if they will let them go now. But then suddenly the tear gas was by the door. As soon as they go out, the gas there, and then you can see the chaos. They climbing back through the railing and everything. It was really chaotic. And then second time, they did the same thing as well. They were gathered in the canteen, and then suddenly they having a excitement of they think, we can go now, we can go again. The same thing, tear gas came out. And I mean, as a photojournalist, I think I should be neutral. I should not interfere anything. But at that point, I couldn't stop myself asking the protester, do you actually trust them again? For me, that day was the time that I actually have the bail day as well. So myself is actually very intense already. And I want to leave, as same as they want to leave as well. And I don't even know how I'm going to leave. And it was quite painful to hear they said that that was my only chance. If they stay, it's no guarantee they can leave anyway. But on the CUHK, it's very, very tense because the number 2 bridge is very, very small area. So all the protesters was fighting with the police, the firebomb, tear gas, everything. It was like within a second, one after the other, nonstop. And because on that day I had I had a head injury because the rubber bullet hit on my head, so I couldn't get into the scene for like the most intense, like an hour, I think an hour or two. I couldn't go there because I was in the medic. But after I was okay and I went trying to get back in, it was unbelievable tense because you can only see orange. When you go in, I had very military mask, gas mask, but I actually feel seems like there's gas coming in. It was so intense. That was my first time trying to get into the scene, but scared and try to go back out and go in again and try to get back out. Once I get in, it's too late to get out when you actually already get in, because it was so jam-packed that you have to really make a decision on if you really get in, then that's it. And I had tear gas canister went into my pocket, but I didn't know. I just felt very hot. And suddenly I got my whole pouch was burned. No one actually know that you're having injury as well. They carry on the firebomb right next to you, and sometimes they're not very experienced on throwing, so they would land right next to you, even though it's not intentionally, but it does happen. While in other scene is more, you just don't get too close. But in CUHK, it was so jam-packed, you can't actually not, even though you want to leave, it take probably 15-20 minutes before you're actually able to leave.